you got caught taking drugs, get your charge. It's like fucking murder. If you fucking murder somebody, you're gonna go to jail, aren't you?
So much shit. He's deeper in the shit than a man that is covered in shit. That's where he is right now.
Derek Chisora didn't hold back in mocking Jake Paul after news broke that the YouTuber turned boxer failed a drug test and faced suspension. Chisora was blunt, tearing into Paul for bringing shame to the sport just weeks ahead of a highly anticipated showdown with Anthony Joshua, calling the situation pathetic.
You know, everybody who gets caught taking drugs should get a fucking 10-year ban, man. Fuck everybody. I don't understand why we have to fucking footsie around this shit for.
Chisora insisted a lengthy ban was warranted. His message was clear. Gambling with banned substances has no place in a boxing ring. The revelation of Paul's failed test sent shockwaves through the boxing world, highlighting the high stakes, strict regulations, and scrutiny athletes face.
The issue with that substance is it's banned in competition under the WADA code. And under the WADA code, in competition represents the day of the fight, which you could actually essentially fail a test for that a week before the fight.
When preparing for major fights, Eddie Hearn, boxing's leading promoter, provided clarity on the rules, emphasizing that there are no exceptions even in the final days before a fight. According to Hearn, banned substances are unacceptable at any stage, and Paul's failure isn't just a...
Eddie said to me yesterday it's 60-40, so we don't know. I don't know if that is the case, and he's failed a sample for cocaine. That's really surprising, massively surprising.
A technical violation. It's a serious professional breach. The situation underscores the immense pressure fighters face to uphold discipline, integrity, and respect for the sport. Analysts and former champions were quick to voice their outrage. Adam Smith described failing a cocaine test as a...
Now you won't know what stays for 2 weeks. I don't know, why would you take it knowing there's a possibility that it's going to be in your system? And why would you take it for our sport anyway?
Staggering embarrassment, underscoring the reckless nature of Paul's actions. Smith argued that this isn't a minor lapse, but a public display of recklessness that erodes any credibility Paul had worked to build. In the eyes of the boxing world, he added, Paul increasingly resembles a cautionary tale rather than a serious competitor.
Somehow in his system from other means. I know that might sound crazy, but I guess we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, do we? I'd like to think we do. But yeah, this is wild. Honestly,
Johnny Nelson echoed this sentiment, calling the act sheer stupidity. To Nelson, taking a banned substance isn't just a career risk, it's a blatant mockery of professional boxing. The frustration he voiced is shared widely among the sports community, as discipline and respect are non-negotiable.
The point. How can he give a sample and then a B sample, and they both come back positive for a banned substance? It doesn't make any sense.
this is the thing.
Paul had clearly failed in both. A. Oladipo expressed disbelief at the timing of the scandal. How could a professional make such a mess right before a major fight? He asked. Paul's attempts to rationalize or excuse the incident only amplified the embarrassment.
Any fighter fails a performance-enhancing drug test, it is incredibly shocking and disappointing.
Fans, fighters, and commentators were left incredulous as Paul's career, already criticized for hype over substance, suffered public humiliation on a global scale. Duke McKenzie highlighted the severity of the situation, noting that 2 positive tests followed by claims of
chuck it out there. If depending on the amount, that will depend on how long it remains in your system. So from what I can gather, if you've taken very limited amounts, very little amounts, it could stay in your system. Depending on the nature of the test, if it was a saliva test, if it was a urine test, if it was a hair test, it's going to stay in your system a lot longer. But
innocence make the scandal even more outrageous. It's an embarrassment of epic proportions, McKenzie said. This isn't just a mistake. It's a public spectacle of negligence. The message was clear. Paul's credibility is crumbling, leaving the boxing community questioning how...
Blown away by what it is, recreational drugs, cocaine, you just go, how has that got in your system? It's got some explaining to do for one, and you think with what you had on the line, and with what you was, what was coming up for you, and the opponent you had in front of you, you just go like, cocaine in your system. Yeah. It's
he ever earned a place in the ring. Adam Catterall weighed in with a stark perspective. Failing a drug test in boxing isn't just shocking, it's disgraceful. Paul had turned what should have been a milestone fight into a humiliation. Fans who once followed his rise were left disillusioned, and the sport itself was forced to question whether Paul possessed any professionalism. Liam Goff dissected Paul's excuses, pointing out that even small infractions are unforgivable in a sport with such high stakes. Claims of limited amounts or accidental ingestion fall apart under scrutiny. With his reputation in tatters, public
moment, the British Boxing Board of Control aren't. So we have to speak with them, deal with the legal situation and see where it lands. And this is quite fresh. Obviously, I don't even think it's 30 minutes. I think it's more like 10 or 15 minutes since that. And, we'll see what rolls on.
Embarrassment grew as experts analyzed the lingering effects of substances in a fighter's system, leaving Paul's credibility further eroded. Spencer Oliver was equally unrestrained, calling the use of cocaine before a major fight absurd. He stressed that Paul had turned his career into a spectacle of incompetence. The stakes had been enormous, yet Paul's reckless choices left fans and professionals alike questioning his commitment to boxing. Eddie Hearn emphasized the unprecedented nature of the crisis, stressing that this was not a minor hiccup. With the British Boxing Board of Control now at
high-profile guy getting caught, and it's just horrible. I genuinely, and I know you without going fucking fully mental here, I just believe if you're caught with any performance-enhancing drug, you should be banned.
the center, Paul's future in the sport hangs by a thread. The scramble for explanations and legal maneuvering only heightened his public humiliation, leaving the community questioning whether he has any discipline or respect for boxing at all. Carl Frampton delivered a blunt verdict. Jake Paul's failed drug test is not just embarrassing, it's dangerous and unforgivable. High-profile athletes bear the responsibility of setting an example, and Paul had spectacularly failed. Calls for a lifetime ban, Frampton argued, were not hyperbole. One poor decision in a sport like boxing can have life-threatening consequences. Paul's recklessness not only endangered himself, but also the safety of opponents.
Today, I haven't been reporting on it this morning. I'm just slowly coming up. One of my colleagues, Jeremy Wilson's doing it for the Telegraph. He's the drugs expert, or the doping expert on the desk. And I think there was something like 14 supplements that he was using.
The scandal also shattered Paul's carefully cultivated image. While he had marketed himself as a serious fighter, his actions now cast him as amateurish and careless. Gareth A. Davies framed the issue as one of total mismanagement. Paul's use of multiple supplements, including 14 different substances, raised questions about judgment, discipline, and intent. Even experts struggled to make sense of it, underscoring the scale of Paul's public humiliation. A fighter once seen as dominant now appeared reckless and unprofessional, treating a serious sport as if it were a gimmick. Carl Froch didn't...
And fake Paul's never been in with a heavyweight. Like I said earlier, he lost to Tommy Fury, a cruiserweight. He lost to him. Tommy Fury's not even British level. So you can't chuck fake Paul in with Anthony Joshua and take it serious. Why can't I...
mince words. He reminded fans of Paul's humiliating loss to Tommy Fury, arguing that the failed drug test only added insult to injury. Attempting to place Paul in a ring with someone like Anthony Joshua, Froch said, was almost laughable. The narrative was clear. Paul was not serious about the sport. His image had collapsed from hyped influencer to cautionary tale, leaving fans and fighters alike shaking their heads in disbelief. Don Charles provided a sobering reality check, noting that Paul was in no position to compete with a seasoned heavyweight like Joshua. The mere idea seemed surreal, almost comical, considering Paul's record and past failures. While the formalities of "may the best man win" exist in boxing, the underlying truth was stark. Paul had consistently demonstrated that he lacked the skill, discipline, and experience to compete at this level. From the loss to Fury to his failed drug test, his career...
At that because you just wouldn't put Jake Paul in the same ring as Anthony Joshua, surely. But if it's for real, then it's for real. May the best man win. And I know, come on, gosh, this is like, the world has changed,
Had become a spectacle of missteps, leaving fans incredulous. Paul's shortcomings went beyond physical ability. Every failed test, every misstep, and every excuse eroded his professional credibility. Froch emphasized that the matchup would be one-sided. Anthony Joshua, even not at his peak, possesses a lethal combination of skill, power, and ring IQ that Paul simply cannot match. Froch painted a vivid picture of Joshua controlling distance, setting up precise punches, and exploiting Paul's weaknesses at every turn. The analysis was harsh but accurate. Paul was a spectacle, not a legitimate fighter. Benvit Sr. added a note of caution. While Paul's record and recent failures made him a clear underdog, the unpredictable nature of boxing meant that an upset, however unlikely, could never be ruled out entirely. Still, he argued, the danger Paul posed was self-inflicted. Every misstep, from failed drug tests to embarrassing losses,
Should happen. This is a one-round job because AJ, even though he's past his best, even though he's seen better days, he throws a nice 1-2 down the middle. He's got a nice bit of distance, and fake Paul can't fight. He just can't. I don't care what anybody tells me. He can't fucking fight. He lost to Tommy Fury for crying out.
Left him vulnerable, and any potential upset would be a shocking anomaly, not a testament to skill or preparation. Spencer Oliver returned to the discussion, highlighting Joshua's experience and pride. According to Oliver, Joshua would enter the ring fully aware of the stakes, determined to protect his legacy and command respect. For Paul, this would be catastrophic. Facing a man not just physically dominant but strategically superior left him at a severe disadvantage. Oliver emphasized that Joshua's decades of experience would exploit every weakness in Paul's limited skill set. Paul's humiliation was already set before the first punch was thrown, amplified by a track record of failed tests and prior defeats. The saga of Jake Paul's failed drug test and career missteps has reached a boiling point. From losses to Tommy Fury to reckless decisions and public scandals, Paul has...
don't count him out. I think that's a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, we could have a big upset, but I think...
shown that hype alone cannot replace skill, discipline, or professionalism. Every expert opinion, from Chisora's brutal criticism to Oliver's prediction of Joshua's dominance, painted the same picture. Paul is out of his depth. This isn't about a single fight. It's about a fighter who repeatedly undermines the sport, endangers opponents, and risks the integrity of boxing. Fans, analysts, and fellow fighters are watching closely, debating consequences, and questioning whether someone like Paul deserves a place in such a high-profile setting. The failed drug test, coupled with a history of reckless behavior, has cemented Paul's reputation as a cautionary figure, one whose choices serve as a warning rather than inspiration. For aspiring fighters and fans alike, the lesson is clear. Talent and hype mean little without discipline, preparation, and respect for the sport. Every angle of the scandal compounds the public humiliation.
Sailing very close to the win, picking Anthony Joshua, because I know Joshua and I know him well. And he's a proud guy, and he will not want to lose any respect from this, and he knows that he's got to get this job done. So expect to see an aggressive Anthony Joshua, which is only bad for Jake Paul.
Paul's marketing as a serious contender crumbles under the weight of repeated failures. From multiple supplement revelations to legal wrangling and public ridicule, the narrative is consistent. Paul is outmatched, unprepared, and dangerously reckless. Boxing, a sport built on discipline, strategy, and respect, has no room for these kinds of lapses at the elite level. As the story continues to unfold, experts warn of long-term consequences for Paul's career. The combination of failed tests, embarrassing losses, and reckless behavior has left fans questioning his credibility and dedication. Even in a sport increasingly influenced by hype and social media spectacle, Paul's actions highlight the stark difference between marketing and genuine professionalism. The verdict from the boxing community is unanimous. Jake Paul's credibility is in serious jeopardy. The failed drug test is more than a momentary lapse. It is a full-blown professional crisis. For a sport that demands discipline, preparation, and respect, Paul's behavior has crossed a line. Experts across the board argue that his public image has shifted from influencer fighter to cautionary tale, demonstrating that hype cannot replace skill, and recklessness comes with consequences. As the boxing world digests this scandal, fans are left with a sobering question. Can Jake Paul ever recover from this series of blunders, or is his credibility permanently shattered? His public missteps, from failed drug tests to humiliating defeats, offer a rare lens into the risks of turning a sport built on discipline into a spectacle fueled by hype. The answer remains to be seen, but one fact is undeniable. Paul's actions have left an indelible mark on boxing, and not in a way that inspires confidence. The Paul saga serves as a cautionary tale for anyone stepping into the ring. Boxing may have room for hype, personality, and showmanship, but it will always demand respect, preparation, and accountability. Those who ignore these principles do so at their own peril. In Jake Paul's case, the consequences are clear: public humiliation, professional scrutiny, and a tarnished legacy. Every expert, from Chisora to Frosh, Hearn to Oliver, has emphasized that Paul's story is one of avoidable mistakes, mismanagement, and reckless ambition. For fans, fighters, and the sport itself, it is a reminder that boxing rewards discipline above all else. Now, as the drama unfolds and the fight approaches, the spotlight is firmly on Jake Paul. Will he adapt, learn, and reclaim credibility? Or will this mark the definitive collapse of his boxing career? The world is watching, experts are weighing in, and the lessons for aspiring fighters are crystal clear. In boxing, hype will only take you so far. Discipline, preparation, and integrity are the measures that ultimately define a fighter's legacy.